All right, here we are with a special, interesting episode of the Slack Doctors. I am Dr. Chip.
I am Dr. Bob.
And we have a special
introduce
guest.
Our guest.
Go right ahead.
Special guest today, Sharaud Norman. I believe you prefer to go by Ty, but I think most people would be easier to find you by looking for your channel, which is We Are Not Going to Mars.
Yes. And when we were joking before the show, you said Sharaud, which was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I was
just now you said Sharaud, which is fantastic too, but it's actually Sharaud.
Sharaud, damn, and I just learned it less than 10 minutes ago too.
No, it's absolutely good, but everybody calls me Ty though. I go by Ty Norman. Sharaud is my first name. It's on my book. So my book planbyty.com.
Right.
But I go by Ty Norman.
As I was telling you earlier, the only reason I was doing it is Sharaud in my head is because, Sharaud, is I'm a big Dune fan, and it literally made your name sound like it right out of a Dune movie.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool, man.
What kind
it doesn't look, as long as you're not calling me idiot or bad names, it's all good with me.
Where does that name come from?
You gotta ask my mom. I have no idea. I don't know. My middle name is Taiwan. So I don't even know where that comes from. I'm a black guy named Taiwan. I don't know what's going on.
Is your mother Muslim or something?
No, absolutely.
So it's not a Muslim name. It's just something she thought sounded interesting.
A lot of Muslim people do think that it's a Muslim name. So I get approached all the time, with the Assalamu alaikum.
It sounds a little bit like it, yeah.
And I'm like, nah, bro, that's not me. No disrespect to anybody.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, because I noticed on your channel that you're definitely a Christian. You don't seem like a Muslim. So,
and I feel your pain. I spent a long time explaining my first name because it's R-O-M, my actual name. And this was before CD-ROMs existed. So nobody got the spelling right. Everybody
R-O-M? Like M for Michael?
Yeah.
That's your first name?
Yeah. It is.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's not short for anything. That's it.
Oh, okay. Not like Romero, just Rom.
Not Romulus, none of that.
Okay.
I think the only Rom I ever heard of other than you is Rahm Emanuel, but that's R-A-H-M, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. He spells it differently. Yeah.
I've never heard of R-O-M
either. Right.
No, I haven't either. That's the first time. Well, it's very
great.
Good to meet you. Let me ask you guys a question. Hold on. Where did you get doctor from? Were either you guys doctors? Because if not, it's super cool.
I'll explain it to him. We're trying to replicate a show that used to be on the radio that we were big fans of called The Love Doctors. So we're
we don't want
to just. Have you heard of them?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were also not doctors.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're just trying to rip them off, and it's kind of supposed to be a call-in show, but nobody's called in so far, and we've had like one or two people call in.
It's the Slack line that we put out, and in theory, I firmly believe that if somebody were to call it right now, we'd be able to answer it.
Yes.
I mean, it would show up
you give
on
it its own
computer. I would share the screen with it, answer it, and then I believe we'd be good to go. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah, the producer would be able to grab it and put it in one of the, to give it its own audio line, if you will, and we'd be able to hear.
All we need now are people to call in.
Well, spoiler alert for later in the show, when we do check our voicemails, somebody who is not you, Chip, left us a voicemail.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm not going to say the person's name. I haven't listened to it. I read the transcript, and then I stopped because I realized it wasn't you, and I figured I'd share it for the, live on the show. But today we actually do have somebody called the show and left us a message.
Oh, that's really cool. I think it's going to happen a lot more often too.
I hope so. But that brings us to our first question: should we listen to the phone calls first, or should we talk about Ty and his theories about Charlie Kirk and stuff like that first? What do you think?
We should absolutely interview Ty and talk to him about his theories about Charlie Kirk.
You sure? We listen, guys. I'm game to do the phone calls. I could talk about any subject you guys want. You guys got me for the full time. We can do phone calls first if you want.
We can hop around. But
yeah. Let's start out talking about your theories, because your theories your theory of how, who, and what shot Charlie Kirk is very intriguing to me, and I can't say as I completely understand it. But before we get into the actual theory, I wanted to hear more about you and like your background, and I guess you're ex-military, and so tell us a bit about you, and then go into the theory of what you think happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, my background is simple. It's complex, but it's simple to explain. I am ex-military. I served between 2000 and 2004. I was an information systems analyst. I served right here in this area where I'm at. I live in the Hampton Roads area in Virginia. I served on Fort Monroe for those years. That was my first duty assignment and my only duty assignment. I worked directly for General Abrams, so I was one of the video teleconferencing technicians for the top secure communications. So I was the guy who went in the back and would turn the keys and start the conference, and then I would facilitate the whole call, and kind of how we're doing right here, how we were setting up just a second ago. I would do that for all the generals.
Yeah, so you're kind of like a producer.
Yeah, basically. So kind of set that up for those guys. And although I wasn't a part of the meeting, none of the planning discussions there, I was, specialist. I was a low ranking. Nobody cared that I was sitting in the corner with the controls, but I heard everything. So I heard everything. And a lot of it was the UAV stuff that's going on right now. I did a series about 10 years ago. I can't say what it is right now because I'm actually trying to repurpose the series, and I'm going to bring it to my new channel. But on an old YouTube channel, I did a series about 10 years ago covering exactly like kind of the stuff that's going on right now, and, dealing with the drones and all that kind of stuff, because a lot of this stuff happens 20 years in advance behind closed doors. And you never see it, And so 10 years ago, when I put out that document that we were working on during that time frame, it shows the drones. It shows how it all works, how it all goes together. And this is before there was ever a drone actually in the sky. Oh, sorry, guys.
I've always felt that any time that, the civilian market receives technology, it's because it's now militarily obsolete. They don't give you the good stuff until they don't need it anymore. Once we had GPS that could tell us where we were within so many feet, they had GPS that could, down to a millimeter or a human hair perhaps. But go ahead. Didn't want to interrupt you, but I agree.
No, we really don't get things until much, much later. And normally when we get those things, it's normally a very dumbed down version of it, right? I like to tell people like this: AI is not new. That's, it's been around for a long time. If you know, you know. The civilian market for it is new, all of that kind of stuff. So they've dumbed it down. They've made it safe for civilians to use, but corporations and companies have been using this predictive analysis and, all this kind of stuff for a very long time. So none of this stuff is new. This drone technology that we're seeing now that's coming to the forefront that I talk about in my series, these lethal quadcopter drones with guns on them, basically, and other munitions, they are not new. The military has had them first, of course, and we, used them a lot. Obama used them a lot. Trump has, used them overseas too. We don't talk about them, but these drones are not new. Now, everybody seems to have forgotten them. We have a new technology for drones now. If anybody remembers when Trump was coming into office, all those drones over New Jersey, everybody forgot about that.
Right. I did not forget about them.
They all
that vividly.
Yeah, and so and living in this area, went through it. It was an experience. Just needless to say, and plus all my family's still in New Jersey. So it's kind of like, what we're watching right now as a transition And I was a part of that transition in the beginning, but I was young, dumb. I'm 23, I think, at the time, or 22, 23 at the time, that I was working in the VTC. And I didn't know any of this would come to pass. I didn't have any, the wisdom that the next 20 something years of my life would bring me. So it's like I went through the experience and I went through young and dumb, but as things started to unfold later, I started to realize, wait a second.
Yeah.
What was I a part of?
Yeah. Before we dive into the deeper conspiratorial aspects of this, let me ask you this. What is your definition of a drone? Like, because for me, a drone is like the things you see in Ukraine that fly around and fly into guys, but they have technology obviously much, much beyond that, I assume, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's different drones, right? But anytime that I think of a drone is any kind of vehicle that is unmanned, any aerial vehicle that is unmanned. So specifically when I talk about the drones in my series, not to get too ahead, but the platform is called Launched Effects, and Launched Effects is basically it's an unmanned aerial vehicle system that's launched from a manned aerial vehicle. Okay. So like a helicopter, a plane, but normally a plane, but like a plane. So a pilot is driving that plane and he's going to release another flying device that has no pilot attached to it. So anything that is an unmanned aerial vehicle, whatever the propulsion system is, our Army drones look like little planes. Right. Our civilian drones and these new, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but the new domestic drones that Trump is going to be using are quadcopters, like that look like kind of hobbyist, almost quadcopters, just a little bit bigger. So the thing that they all have in common, though, they're unmanned. Right.
Now,
so
when you say
regardless
unmanned,
of the propulsion system.
When you say unmanned, do you mean as far as nobody's remote controlling them at all, or just that there's no living body inside the drone itself?
We do have autonomous drones, but no, I don't mean that nobody is controlling them. I just nobody, is inside the
physical
drones.
Body inside. I once heard a statistic that the last generation of American pilots, as far as military pilots, is already alive, because really the biggest thing constraining an aircraft's ability to execute maneuvers and whatnot is not the metal fatigue, and it's not the plane itself or the propulsion method. It's the squishy meat inside that can only withstand so many G's before it blacks out or its brain turns to mush.
Yeah, and all money is going into drones right now. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I wish I had the article here right now. I think it was last year, the president's budget was 200 and don't quote me on this. I'm going to give you approximations, like about 220 million for the UAV budget that he had for last year. Guess how much it was this year? Take one guess.
I'm sure.
Double.
More than double, I guarantee. A couple of billion, probably.
Over 50 billion. But it's settle in your mind for a second. Oh, yeah. 225 million to well over 50 billion.
I was thinking about that earlier today about mentioning
that is the most massive increase in spending for one sector that we've seen in a very, very, very long time.
And who's getting all that money?
And historically, it seems like we never have a problem raising the money when it's for the military. It's always the money is always there. Well, it's never a question of we don't have it.
They're just
everything else needs to be cut. Everything else needs to be cut, but we always have the money for that. Mm-hmm. But part of that is to ensure
to stay on the monetary
of the petrodollar
aspect of this for just a second. There's 350 million people in this country. They're talking about giving everybody a check for $2,000. How about a check for $1 million? That's chump change. Literally. I've been talking to heard Governor Ron DeSantis talking about just the state of Florida, about his no tax bill, saying that there are these some couple of counties that are in backwood Florida that'll be a couple of $100 million short on their budget. He goes, oh, that's chump change. It's we're dealing with billions in the on the state level. It's the thought of anybody giving somebody $2,000. I'd be, come on, man,
It's
get real.
absolutely.
I know it's insane, but anyway,
it's wild.
So I'd like to
especially when inflation catches it
Oh
anyway.
yeah,
So it
it's going to
doesn't
be
matter.
ridiculous. It's going to be ridiculous. But I want you to start specifically telling us what you think happened to Charlie Kirk. You think he's shot twice, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in Charlie Kirk, Operation 322, started at the beginning. In September, when he was shot, I basically, I've done journalism a lot before. I'm not going to get much more into me, but I've done quite a bit of journalism before. So I knew right away to grab up all the video assets that I could immediately. Great source, Twitter, and a few other sites, but immediately started grabbing up everything that I could grab up. And I didn't start working on it right away. I think it was like a few days later or something like that, kind of like letting the dust settle and catching reports and stuff. And I was working on this Epstein piece back then anyway. And I was on TikTok. I had a TikTok following at the time before they banned me. So basically, I said, I'm going to get to that Charlie Kirk thing. I'm going to check it out. I have all the stuff. And when I get a chance to sit down and really look through it, I'm going to see. And what I noticed is on my TikTok account, everything just started getting flooded with like Charlie Kirk, like a few days later. And I'm like, I didn't know who this guy was. I knew it was a big deal that he was assassinated in front of 3,000 people. So I got all the video assets. But why is everybody in such a frenzy? What is there something I'm missing? So I went, checked everything out, that I just downloaded. And much to my surprise, when one of the first videos I watched was a cell phone video, kind of close, and showed the whole neck opening and the blood, coming out and everything. And when I looked at it, I am not a weapons expert, but I said either he got hit with a small caliber round, close range, very small caliber to get shot in the neck and, not cause any other damage besides a small hole. Okay. But I knew that it was either that or basically at that time, nothing else. But when I heard that he got shot with a 30-06, I'm not a hunting guy, but I do, I know enough about guns. And when I realized that, I said, that's impossible. It's physically impossible.
I think that was the first red flag for a lot of people, was the mention of 30-06. Quick question before I forget to ask it later. All of the footage that you said you immediately started gathering and archiving, what percentage of that footage would you say is now gone? Let's say if you had to try to go back and get the raw footage that you have, has a lot of it been scrubbed?
That is actually a great question. I have not. I don't know. Now, I do know of certain archives and stuff like that where stuff is located at still to this day. But that would be a good question, because over time they do eventually scrub through, a very soft, gentle process in the background. People's stuff gets taken down, accounts go down. That's why your numbers fluctuate on social media every day, but your following and stuff like that, and your likes and all that. So a lot of these things do get scrubbed over time, but I have not physically checked, per se, to see, But what I do know is, and I won't run you guys too long on the story. When I realized that it wasn't, that it wasn't a gun, or it wasn't that type of gun, that's what got my initial suspicion going. And I said, that's impossible. I really don't understand what's going on. So I caught up on a few YouTube channels and tried to get some more information. And what I was seeing over and over is that people were confused about what shot him and where he got shot and what actually really happened. So then I said, okay, well, this was, it's going to turn into a lot more than what I thought it was. I like a good investigation. I've done a lot of journalism, a lot of work. So I said, okay, I'm going to jump into this and I'm going to figure this out. I'm in the middle of developing a platform. I was developing PenPub at the time, which is a whole nother thing. I'll say that at the end. But I was developing.
I was going to ask you about that too.
Yeah. We'll get to that at the end. So I was in the middle of developing PenPub at the time, and now I'm like, okay, I have this amazing opportunity before me to use my investigative skills to kind of figure out this Charlie Kirk thing. And maybe if I do that, I can get some eyes on PenPub while I'm developing. And I'll release it in beta so people can see it. I could get all the bugs and issues out and talk about it, run it through videos, set up the funneling and all that stuff, right? So I start out on that process to do that. But when I got done the first 3 parts and I released it on TikTok, it started going viral. And within a week, I think, or something like that, maybe a little less than a week, they shut my account down. They're like tens of thousands of views and tons of comments and all that. Within that time frame, Project Constitution had found me. And when Project Constitution found me, Colin found me, he sent me a couple of cash apps. And hey, bro, here's my phone number. Call me. I saw your work on TikTok. Or no, I saw it on Reddit. Somebody took my work off of TikTok and put it on Reddit. And it was trending on Reddit. And so I reach out to him and he says, hey, can I have you on the show? You know, much like we're doing right here. I go on his show. We talk about it. And it was then I went back to the drawing board and I'm kind of like looking at what I have here, because there was a guy that I put out, a person of interest in part 3, who was running across the bridge when Charlie got shot, a security guard. He ran through the taped off area that was right above Charlie Kirk's head. Taped off area, and this guy ran right above him, you know. So I had put out some sourcing like, hey, find me this guy. Who is this guy? Let's figure it out. I think that this is the BA sniper. I think we got him. Because I had coined the position of where the shot came from, the BA sniper position, right? I said, when I figured out, I'll get to that in a second. When I figured out where the shot came from, I coined it the BA sniper position. So I put it out, said, everybody help me find this guy. They found some more footage that I didn't have at the time of where that guy ran when he ran past Charlie up on that overpass. And we kind of were able to figure out, maybe that's not the guy. He came from the location of where the shot was. He had the ability to jump down off the roof because the top of the roof there had a hole where you can actually climb up and down, which I cover in parts 1 through 3. And I had even timed it from the time of the shot to the time he got across the bridge, which I think was like 30 something seconds. So it was reasonable that somebody in enough shape in the way that how fast he was running across the bridge by himself, that he could have taken the shot. The only thing that was a little bit funny was the angle. He would have had to have been up on this like little incline a little bit to be able to see with the perfect angle to be able to hit that part of Charlie's.
And you're saying he's sitting, you're saying he's shot from behind and the neck wound is an exit wound.
Yeah, the neck wound is an exit wound. So to kind of climb into that a little bit, after I went on Colin's show, I looked at this information and I said, okay, the BA sniper is the right position, but it's the wrong method. It's not him. And I went on to another show with this engineer named Gideon. He looked at my work and he said, you're absolutely right. He said, but I think that the BA sniper might have been, there's right here where the BA sniper could have been, and there's the building that's right next to it. It's right here, a little bit higher. He said, I think the BA sniper was right here at this position. We argued in the show. I said, no, it's impossible. He said, because it doesn't line up. He thought the bullet came through the ear. It didn't go through the ear. But he did have the angle right, and he did work out a whole 3D replication of the full environment with all the totals and angles and stuff. And it did show that there was definitely clearance for the tent. The tent was raised up that day. Right. So not only was Charlie was on a small podium, but they raised the tent up, which was interesting. And So I told him in that show that we did, it was Project Constitution, me and Gideon. And I told him in that show, I said, actually, I'm about to release something because that's when I first found Elbit Systems. I said, if there was drones that were present, then it could have been possible that a drone took the shot, right? So I'm looking at, I already found my BA sniper position, but now I have to find a drone in the BA sniper area. Yeah. Now, can I do that, right? So
now, let me stop you just for a second now. And now we're talking about when these drones are made by that company or plant that blew up or something, right?
No.
Okay.
These drones are made by Elbit Systems. Elbit Systems is a defense contractor for Israel. It's the number one defense contractor for Israel, and currently within the last 3 weeks or 3 to 5 weeks, it became the largest company in Israel. They have over 30,000 employees.
Billions of dollars from the Defense Department. But so
from our money, yeah.
So is there any connection to that plant that blew up in like Kentucky or wherever it was? No, that has nothing to do with it. Okay, gotcha.
No, it doesn't. And I'll talk about that too in a second too. But no, Elbit Systems. Basically, at the end of part 4 in my series, it's 5-part series right now. At the end of part 4 in my series, I show this animation that a gentleman on YouTube did regarding Elbit Systems and their quadcopter lethal drones in Palestine, and how they basically just the IDF drives these drones around from Elbit and they just shoot people in the head. There's not them sitting on top of hills anymore sniping people. They're literally using quadcopter drones and just driving around and shooting people in the head. So it's an absolute massacre what's going on over there. Oh, yeah. It's one of the, it's ugly beyond ugly. And what I've been trying to warn people is it's coming here. Yeah. They're perfecting it on Palestinian lives right now. I don't have to agree with those people, religion or anything like that. They're still humans. And they're shooting them in the head
we're no
with
fans of Israel here.
Drone.
Yeah.
A lot of things that they try out in the military are so that they can move them into the civilian sector. I mean, Palantir is the contracts that they have.
Let me ask you this.
Absolutely correct that it's coming. And to be quite honest, it's kind of already here.
Yeah, true.
Oh, yeah,
Did you see that Sean Bryan podcast where they had the head of security on saying that he wasn't allowed to fly any drones?
Yeah, I have a special. I have a tribute series that I'm doing. It's long story. I probably won't get into it on this segment with you guys. I'll be happy to come back again.
And obviously, we're going to put a link to your channel in the description so people can go and see watch the full thing, because we're not going to be able to cover it all today here. It's too much to do in a show.
Yeah. So I did. I'm doing the tribute series, and I'll be talking about some of the things that he said that just weren't true. He was trying to throw everybody under the bus. He had no integrity. Yeah. Absolutely no integrity. And he didn't want to take responsibility for anything. One of the key things that he said, I'm going to give you the key takeaway that really, it just pissed me off. He talked about how basically as he was throwing them under the bus, he said, well, yeah, we brought 12 guys and they only had 6. And we know that there was 3,000 plus people there. So my thing is this, this military part. If you're walking into a situation that is not a tenable situation, there's nothing you can do if things break out. If things start to disintegrate fast, and you have 18 people versus 3,000. It's not a good look. Yeah. It's a terrible idea. So why didn't you shut it down? That was the very first sign to me, just as a responsible adult. You shut it down. Hey, my client's not getting out the vehicle right now until we get some more. We can start late. I don't mind starting late. We can stay. But my client's not getting out the vehicle until we get some more city resources here.
Like
he
an ambulance,
knew that the city, an ambulance, and at least a dozen more cops.
Yeah.
At least a dozen more. Even if it was a handful, they would have been able to save face. But by including nobody else, and then by all the hand signals we saw on the stage, and I break it down in my series, and I'll give you guys a link to the comprehensive article so you can put that in the YouTube as the link for everybody to go to so they can see what I'm talking about. So they don't have to sit through the 8-hour series, right? It's a long series to sit through. The article, I condensed it down. It's a lot easier. And you see in the article, when you watch it frame by frame, you watch the guy, maybe it's Dan Flood or something like that, but the guy standing behind Charlie Kirk, and he signals the start of the operation. He gives the double tap on the pad, puts his hands back to the position. Less than a half a second later, Charlie Kirk is shot. But the reason why I was able to come to the conclusion of how he got shot in the back of the head, it's the most definitive evidence, and I'll segue now into that factory you were talking about. It's the most definitive piece of evidence that suggests a shot is an infrared beam. There's not going to be a reason for an infrared beam to show up anywhere at the site of assassination if he got blew up by a microphone.
Yeah.
We'll start there. So the infrared beam going across Frank Turek's cell phone was found by a gentleman named Stephen Danu of Israeli News Live. He runs a YouTube channel. He's been in operation for a very long time. And I've been a fan of his for a very long time. So as I'm looking through on YouTube, through all these YouTube videos of people talking about Charlie Kirk, he was one of the ones. So I clicked on his YouTube video. I watched it, and he was talking about this infrared beam that went across the phone. He was the only one in the world talking about it. It is happenstance that I have been following him for over a decade. And I just happened to run into his video with that infrared beam. That set my investigation into overdrive. I knew right away, as soon as I saw the infrared beam, there was no way in the world that this man didn't get shot. He absolutely got shot. It was in the back of the head. We just had to figure out how, he got shot. And then I had to uncover two things. I had to uncover the anomaly on his shirt. If you guys, I don't know how much footage you guys have seen, but when his shirt puffs up,
right,
the second after his shirt puffs up like this,
right,
there's an anomaly that makes his shirt go like this. And a lot of people, in the explosion, in the microphone explosion theory, they don't show you this most of the time. And when they do show it to you, the one thing they don't show you is right here in the center. There's a hole. There's pressure pressing the shirt up against the body. And right in the middle of that pressurized hole, there is a hole going into the body.
Okay, so that's where
that
you
is
think
a
he
shot
was shot.
from the front.
Gotcha.
That's 2 shots. So basically, to the front left of Charlie, just a little bit, was the palm shooter. And I have something that nobody else does have, and I'll tell you guys here. I actually have the frame where you can see the barrel.
Yeah, I've seen where it looks
frame.
like. Yeah, it looks like you can almost see something there. Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. So it's coming out in my tribute episode that I'm about to put out here soon. My John Cullen kind of tribute episode. So he was clearly shot from the front. Now, this simultaneous shot, again, the guy standing behind him was the one who gave the sign for the shot. At the same time, the drone up here shot, the one with the beam that was on the back of his head, hit him in the back of the head. It truncated the neck. It pushed all of this downward. Very key element. Downward neck cavitation. You cannot get that from an exploding microphone. You cannot get that from a shape charge or any pack or device anywhere on the torso of the body. There is no neck cavitation that can be downward neck cavitation, downward. How do we know it was downward? See how I have a beard line? Charlie didn't have a beard, but he had a shaving line. So I show in my video when Charlie was hit like this, all of this shifted. And you can see his shaving line even drop with the expansion that shifted. So when you see the puff of the shirt, that's the PSI, the 50,000 PSI entering his body, causing immediate fluctuation of the neck and a downward pressurization of Charlie Kirk's body, which created a bouncing effect. So when you see him come up with the microphone like this, he had already bounced down and was coming up.
Interesting.
So as that puff was at the top of his shirt, this is a dual operation. That's when the second bullet was hitting, which caused the shirt to go, the shirt's already puffed from the first shot entering first, right, and the PSI expanding the neck and pressing the body down and creating almost like a wind, a very powerful pressing down of the body. So it's like this. The second shot comes in from over there and it hits as the shirt's puffed at the top, which causes the triangulation.
Interesting.
Just like this.
So if any,
with the hole right here in the middle.
If this is all true, whoever did the autopsy knows that the official story can't be. So
do you know how many Masons there are in the world, man?
How many what?
Masons.
Oh, Masons. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Do you know one of the biggest business
I met
Masons?
a Mason once.
I've met a lot of Masons.
No,
but do you know one of the biggest business Masons?
No.
Mortician?
Bingo.
Is it really? No shit. Oh, that's amazing.
There's a lot of Masons that are morticians. Yes. They're in the beginning of life and they're at the end for death.
But it's not the mortician that does the autopsy, though, is it?
Well, no, you get they're wrapped again. They're at the beginning of life. They're your doctors in the hospital when you're born, and they're also at death at every phase. So whether you're talking about your mortician, whether you're talking about especially your autopsies.
All right. So let me ask you this. So
because that's the stuff that gets released to the public. So
right.
Anything that needs to be controlled, they're there.
Chip and I once, many years ago, worked with a guy who was a mortician by day and a waiter by night. And he was one of the weirdest dudes I've ever met in my entire life.
I don't think he was a Mason.
But I don't think he was a Mason. No.
Well,
but let me ask you
never know. That's all I was say. You never know, man.
That is true. He was a weird dude. But let me ask you this about the. So you think the palm pistol is a thing?
Oh yeah, it's.
So let me ask you this though: how do you aim does the palm pistol have like a laser aim or something? How do you aim?
No,
something like that?
I seen this guy Val Venus talking about that, and he's like, "There's a white beam coming out of it, and it's a laser." And
I mean, to be that accurate, you would need something. Terrible. I would think it's a pretty.
No, why would you need anything for what?
Well, I mean, you're taking a shot from the hip with this small barrel, apparently. It can't be that accurate.
One, it's not.
But then again, you're saying it hit him in the body, which I'm thinking, that's what hit him in the neck, which would be a good shot with a palm pistol. But if you're aiming center mass, I guess that is best, probably more.
Yeah. Well, think about, I was in the military with a guy. This was not me. It's not my story. I was in the military with this guy. And he was from a Midwestern state. I forget, one of the Midwestern states. And he was a hunting kid. And I remember going out to the range. My best day, I'm maybe knocking out 28 out of 40, 29 out of 40. The whole time we were at basic, I think he missed one shot, maybe two. The whole time. The entire time, every time we went. So he didn't even make it through basic training. They came and got him before we even finished basic training. He was gone. So I already know what he became in the military. I've never seen anybody shoot like just unreal. We all used to crowd around and just to watch him shoot. There are people in this world that are absolutely
That's true.
Masters of shooting, and anything that you practice, you can get good at. Now, the way that this situation was set up for UVU, I believe it was Nisi, a YouTube account. I hope I'm doing this right. I think it was Nisi that uncovered this, and I think Candace may have covered what Nisi uncovered. But basically, the entire setup that they had that day was new and unique. It hadn't been the setup that they had been doing at other events. And even, the camera, everything was different. They changed everything that day. And the reason why I say that is because with the tent being raised, the type of podium that they used, with everything that it showed me in the actions too of when he got shot and what everybody did. This was a very rehearsed, very practiced operation. Coming from the military standpoint, you don't go out and do an operation unless you practice it. You have to practice it. You have to have reconnaissance you have to know what's going on. You have to know everything, all of the details, so that you can plan for them. Now, they messed up. They messed up because that hole was never supposed to come out of his neck like that. That was not planned. That was just the nature of what happens when you shoot people. You see what happens.
Right.
The bullet's going to make its own mind after that. That was, I think, an event that was unaccounted for. So therefore, when his body hit the ground, they knew right away, shit, we got to find that bullet. We got to find something. Now, I found the bullet. If you go watch the second video in my summary article and just press pause on the part where I say, here's the bullet, you can see it come out of his neck, a fragment, one of the fragments come right out of his neck.
What do you think of the fragments they say they got from the body? Do you think that's from the other shot, maybe?
Well, from what I've researched, and it'll be in my tribute episode too, so basically it could have been, 30 caliber round from any other rifle too. It didn't have to come from a 30-06, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking that it came from a similar style rifle, not as powerful, but a similar style rifle that they would outfit.
You think the fragments are from the getting shot from the front or from behind? Obviously, from behind. Would probably, but something exited. Obviously, if they got shot from behind.
Yeah.
Do you think those are just fragments that didn't exit, that just left over?
Yeah, I think one of them just happens to be like the bullet, like you were talking about in the show. The bullet slits. It's designed to do this. Yeah. So they, as Candace has covered, there was a fragment found under the skin that she initially had reported about back then. We seen one fly out the neck. I'm going to guess there's a couple more fragments, and I'm going to guess they're not going to tell us about the small caliber that went into the front. So they're not going to, because that's the small caliber that went into the front. It did not kill him. That was only to sell the LC shot, to send the body, to go backwards. So that's all that was literally there for. But any other bullet fragments, we're not going to hear anything about. That's why I said the medical examiners and all these other kinds of people for autopsies, and a lot of these people are bought and paid. Just if we had any evidence whatsoever that science can be bought and paid, it's COVID. We went through that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. So, not to get too much off topic, but I wanted to get, before we get done, at least, I wanted to get your take on the correspondence dinner shooting, which is clearly, I don't know if you've even seen the footage they tried to pass off as that hallway footage. That's clearly fake. And it's just like so ridiculous. It's
outrageous. It angers you. So what I covered and my video did a couple 100,000 views. This is after me crying and complaining for the last month, and I'm being censored by Elon for everything that I've uncovered in these last few months, if it's from the brothel and Palm Beach to everything. they hit me hard last month, so I'm being censored. But when this happened the other day, I immediately looked up the shooter's name in Israel to see if it was trending, in Israel. And I was the first person to put that out. So the algorithm rewarded my video right away for that. I hit up my whole list of people that I had in my email box and said, hey, got him. Look, Israel, this is the, date. Here's it, everything with it. So everybody started blasting that out and getting it out there. So I did really, really good numbers on that post. But as I dug a little bit deeper into the situation, what I realized is I said, okay, and when you follow my investigation, for folks out there, and you follow my investigation, you'll understand a little bit more of what I'm saying. I realized right away, I said, oh, okay. So they are trying to protect APAC Jr., Erica Kirk. I said they are trying to create basically psychologically create a Hasbara operation. They're creating a victim campaign for Donald Trump and Erica Kirk. They both have been going through the worst PR of their lives. Both of them. Terrible freaking numbers. And right now, Israel is controlling TPUSA for the purposes of controlling the political action committees that TPUSA is attached to. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated by Israel's Elbit Systems, their bird of prey drone platform, what they unleashed was they accomplished so much. One, Charlie had already beat them to the TikTok deal and had to deal with TikTok. They took Charlie out of the equation for that. I uncovered that. Okay.
Interesting.
Two, Charlie had already sat down with a group of kids and was talking bad about APAC. I uncovered that video. Nobody had found that video. I have that one. That's on my X2. So TikTok, APAC. Three, Charlie had already said no after he had already joined their little club. Right. He realized he was in too deep and he didn't want to be a part of it anymore. So he said, no, I don't want to do this anymore. You guys are bullying me. You guys are being asses and I don't want to be a part of it. Yeah. And they said, okay. They said, you want to take TikTok? You want to talk about APAC? You want to pull back and all? We wanted to work with you. We'll replace you and we'll just use your wife instead. And they did it in the most nasty way because let me say this. The way that they did it, it is signifying, they did it in a ritual assassination to signify, because there's a lot more symbols, and I'm going to be talking about some more things later on, but there's symbols that are right there in your face, right there in the UVU courtyard that suggests what's about where we're going next. Let me plug this up.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. I've seen the Mason signals and all that kind of stuff.
And not even just that, let me use this. Hold on, sorry, guys. Gotta plug my phone up before it dies. So there's a lot that they use to signify that this was a ritual assassination of Charlie Kirk, and it was just an ugly in the way that they decided to do it. There we go. Ugly in the way that they decided to do it because it signifies what's coming next. And what's coming next is the domestic drones. And this is what we have to be concerned about. The Department of War are now, used to be Department of Defense when I was serving. Now it's Department of War, released a cartoon photo of Donald Trump standing on the White House with quadcopter drones behind him. They're going to use narco-terrorism to introduce this, but this is what they plan on doing. This is why the budget has increased.
Okay, that makes sense. That's why there's the big anti-weed push now again, all of a sudden. I've noticed that on X. Well, everybody's oh no, we got to make it illegal again. I'm like, all right, I need the money. Go ahead.
Well, they perverted the industry that we probably all like here. They perverted it with all this Delta crap, all this Delta weed and all this stuff that's not natural. And
that's what I keep trying to tell them. Well, let me ask you this before we get too far off. Do you, and I got to mention the whole thing with Erica Kirk and the stupid, fake shooting it's just so ridiculous that they got that little clip of her leaving in tears going, I just want to go home, when there's other people that are just, aren't acting, or in the ballroom just going, hey, I think I'm going to take this bottle of wine home with me as a keepsake.
So let me ask you guys this. Would you find it weird? Would you find it weird that, and this is why I said this, let me just ask you, would you find it weird that she's doing that? Simultaneously, Trump, I know you heard him talking about, I've seen the headlines today, we have to get the ballroom because of everything that happened, and we're no longer safe in these places, so we have to have this. And what he said in the press conference was, and it's even safe from drones. Yep. This is what Trump says. Nobody was talking about drones. What are we doing? People keep missing it.
Oh yeah.
He knows the threat that's down the road, because he's going to be at the head of it.
The fact they're talking about that chick as a vice presidential candidate or something like that, it's just like, I mean, we are a stupid nation, but are we that dumb? I mean, would we be stupid enough to elect that chick? Would we elect a Tammy Faye?
Vance and Kirk on the ticket together? Oh yeah, that could be.
I think they wanted to do it, but I think there's a backup plan that is in play. I don't want to give that away today.
They better have a backup plan, because I don't think that's working.
No, we're only getting half the script, guys. I know it feels a lot overwhelming to a lot of people, and it should, because it's a lot. But this is literally only half the play. The Judaism part is just.
And here's the thing. I think I forget which episode it was, but way back in the day on one of the episodes, I said, "Hey, somebody needs to invent." It was when the New Jersey drones were happening. I said somebody needs to invent an electric magnetic pulse, gun. Just to see drone, just shoot it right out of the sky. And I mean, I think somebody doesn't Russia or somebody or Korea or somebody already have something like that?
We do.
Yeah, I was going to say we just need to get the consumer version out, and we won't have to worry about the drones so much.
Yeah, they're not releasing that.
Yeah, the episode we did with the patent attorney, that's not a patent anyone's going to get one for. One of the clips, it wasn't a clip, but a product that you sent me an email of, Chip, was essentially a product that I wonder how it got a patent for. That was the Linux hacker little device. It's basically a skimmer, like a card reader. So that thing exists solely for nefarious purposes. The product exists.
Share it on the show.
Yeah, I can share that.
That's funny.
Yeah, when do you see this thing? I was like, how can they even be selling this thing? As soon as I saw it, I was like, it's advertised as a hacker's tool. It is.
Yeah, here you go.
When I was growing up, I've been in tech.
Computer Zero, a pocket Linux computer for hackers.
Yes.
Ultimate hacking toolkit, portable entertainment hub. Yeah. This thing exists. I don't know where it's being manufactured, but
overseas, absolutely.
It's crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, when I was younger, I started out in computers in the 80s, and I've been hacking and programming since I was a child. And I've worked for my board of education. I've owned computer businesses before. So it was a natural fit for me when I went in the military. They treated me like the Black Bill Gates when I went in. And it's, let me tell you, back during the time when I was, when I started, back when there was like MIRC and all that kind of stuff, it was a whole different world. And you would be able to download this thing called Wares. And some people pronounce it Warez, WAREZ. People can look that up now and then go see what I'm talking about. But it was a really big thing back in the 90s. You would be able to download the Anarchist Cookbook, if you guys have ever heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
And that would teach you about a lot of the wares that were out there for the hacking tools and the stuff like that back then.
I can remember
all of that stuff still exists.
I remember before computers, people were hacking AT&T using Captain Crunch whistles. You would get a toy in the box that blew a certain tone that would actually kind of bypass and give you admin control over the phone, and you can make long distance calls for nothing.
All of that stuff is called hacking and phreaking. People forgot about phreaking, phreaking. Yeah. So there's a lot of things out there, a lot of tools out there that people don't.
Well, you remember
that's why I try to tell people all the time, security is an illusion. If you think that security is real.
Oh, yeah. That's what I tell everybody. It puts anything on the internet. Yeah. If it's on the internet,
yeah.
it's
If you watch
public.
YouTube guys that like those pen testers and stuff, they the shit they do on screen is amazing and frightening. And it only takes them a matter of seconds. Spoofing their buddy's phone number in a matter of seconds.
Just, man. It's incredible what you understand.
That's not even to mention all the cool stuff they do as far as physical penetration, ways around door locks and bar locks and all kinds of crazy shit.
Do you remember from
one of my favorite stories?
Do you remember from the original Silence of the Lambs when Dr. Lecter was hacking the phone by the clicks? Remember they give him a phone?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's your lawyer. And he immediately hangs up and he just hits the clicks and calls that guy from the FBI. Yep. That's the original hacking.
And also the social hacking, too, is I've lost the use of my arms. Could you dial a number for me, please?
Yes. If you understand that's actually a freaking great example because that predates, a lot of the systems of today. It's a very old movie. But I do remember that. And when you combine the digital hacking with the social hacking, there's so much you can do. That's why we know when we see stuff like, look, we're having an intellectual conversation about real possibilities of things that really do exist. Okay. So when we see unbelievable things, they want us dumb down so much that we don't call out the unbelievable things. We saw a man run in a video between a bunch of agents armed to the T. They had every kind of firearm imaginable you can think of. You hear in the video several shots, big boy shots, and maybe a couple smaller ones. You hear it in the video. And then the outcome of everything, we're told that somebody got shot in the armor. In the vest. Okay, they got their bulletproof vest, and that's it. And this person is completely unscathed. Nothing happened. But yet all of the media that comes out afterwards, the tragedy that happened.
Right. And not only that.
What tragedy? Who died?
I mean, as a self-proclaimed...
No one died.
Right,
Nothing even happened.
As a self-proclaimed journalist, right? As a self-proclaimed journalist, what happened to journalism? Because literally, like hours and hours after it happened, is like, all right, a lot of shots have been fired. I have no idea who got hit. I have no idea who shot at who. I mean, they're all there, and there's tons of coverage, but there's no information. There's nobody going, here's the facts.
I love that.
Here's what happened.
You said two things. You said what happened to journalism, and then you said there's tons of coverage and there's no information. Both of those statements are absolutely accurate. I mean, listen, as far as what happened to journalism, selfishness.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember, back in the day, and we'll never hear from this guy. Back in the day, they would have marched this guy out in front of a camera, and reporters and reporters, yes, and the reporters would be yelling at him, "Why'd you do it?" And he would tell us, "You ain't gonna get that anymore."
No, because they know when it's a controlled asset that it's like a wind-up toy. I believe you were saying that in the thing, your other episode. But when you have like kind of these wind-up toys or stuff like that, these guys can just be activated, and you don't want that activated person talking. Think of George Zen, for the Charlie Kirk situation. Yeah. Listen to all the things that he ended up saying. So, somebody told him to do it. He gave away the whole bag. He told you that this is an operation, basically. And somebody called me. They told me to do it. They told me to be here.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy.
Connected to Phil Lyman.
Yeah, exactly. As I feared, we could go on for hours, but we're running out of time, so we got to get out of here. We'll
do it again.
Yo, we have to. We'll give it a week or so and see who they try to shoot next, and then we'll get back together and discuss that. Now, yeah, right.
Hopefully.
But before we get off the air, I do have to tell this one crazy story about me leaving the podcast the last episode. I
think I know where you're going.
I called Rom to tell him.
I didn't finish watching it.
Well, it has nothing to do with the episode, but basically, I ride a motorcycle down. I live up in Lantana. I ride down. It's about a 45-minute ride on my motorcycle, an hour if I bring my Jeep. But I'm not a not aggressive driver on my motorcycle. I don't wait around for people. It's a BMW. Yeah. It goes pretty quick.
You know how to drive.
Yeah. Well, we get into that.
Yeah. You've been doing it for so many years that if you didn't, you'd be much more mangled than you are.
Probably. But anyway, I should have known on the way down. I did go by a Florida Highway Patrol guy sitting on the side of the road. Luckily, I saw him way ahead of time and slowed down, got out of the fast lane. So I was like, oh, okay. And I haven't seen a Florida Highway Patrol on the highway in a long time. So I went by him. He didn't bother me. Nothing happened. Got down here, did the podcast, head back. Now, on the way back, I always haul ass on the way back. I'm on the way home. What the hell? I'm not lollygagging. So I'm going pretty good on the bike, weaving in and out of traffic as I'm often do. Now I don't do like crazy.
Though.
Yeah, I don't do like crazy lane splitting wheelies or anything crazy like that. But I do kind of split some lanes if it's too slow and people are getting in. I'm like, screw it, I go through.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm cruising along, and at about halfway through my commute home, it always slows down. It slows down to like almost a crawl. So in that area, I'm now like kind of picking my way through traffic, not going very fast, but still kind of weaving, doing a little lane splitting, but not really going over maybe 30, 40 mile an hour. So all of a sudden, a cop comes. I don't even know how he caught me through all that traffic, but sure enough, all of a sudden there's a cop on my ass. I at first went the one way thinking he was just going to go by. I was like, what I haven't been speeding. What could but it was me. Yeah, it was me. So I was okay. So I pulled over and I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. So there's that guy. Another cop pulls up behind him. Another cop appears like in front of me somewhere, like pulled over, like in case I was going to try and run or something. I mean, it's Florida and motorcycles. A lot of them try to run, but I pulled over.
You're only doing what, 40, 50 maybe?
Well, at that point,
at that point,
time, yeah. Before I'd been going
down to okay,
but I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know how long they'd been watching me or whatever. So anyway, the guy comes up. And it's a big old white guy, you're in heat trouble now, boy. So he comes up and he goes, "What's your hurry?" And I'm like, "Hurry? I've been stuck in traffic. What are you talking about?" He goes, "Oh, you don't think we got a plane up there? We've been following you since back." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, then yeah, back there I was hauling ass. You're right." And I literally just never lied to the guy, never panicked or anything. But all right, so he's like, "All right, where's your license?" And I'm like, "Well, I left it. It's in my Jeep. I don't have it. It's in my Jeep." And he's like, "What? You don't have a license?" And I'm like, "Well, I have a license. It's not with me. It's in my Jeep."
Yeah, it's not on me. Calm down, guy.
He's like, "Well, do you have a motorcycle endorsement?" I'm like, "Yeah. I'm, because you're supposed to have take a test or whatever."
Yeah, a little thing on it. Yeah.
So he's yelling at me and this and that and the other thing, and then he's asking me all these questions, and then he goes. And then he goes, "Well, how am I, you should have your license." And I'm like, "Well, just run my tag, it'll tell you who I am." And he goes, "Oh, we already ran your tag. I'm just waiting for it to come back." Blah, 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 blah. So, and there's this other cop there, who's a younger guy. And he's first of all, these guys were actually really friendly. To tell you the truth, they weren't really that accusatory at all, really. They were pretty friendly.
Okay.
So this guy goes back to his car and is sitting there behind it doing whatever. And I'm talking to the other guy. And then one of the other guys asked me, he goes, he was at first they were asking me like where I worked, and I'm like, "I don't work. I'm retired." They go, "Oh, okay." Yeah. And then one of the young guy asked me, he goes, "How long you been riding motorcycles?" And I go, "Since I was about 8." He's like, "Oh, So anyway, and it's funny because he asked me before he went back the second time, and now this whole time, the biggest issue I'm worried about is the tag on that bike does not belong to that bike. It belongs to my other bike. That bike is not even registered." So the whole time, this is my biggest concern.
In your defense, though, the tag does go to your name.
Yeah.
It's just the wrong bike.
It's the wrong bike, right?
Wrong bike, yeah.
Right. But anyway, so...
Same brand? Same brand?
No.
Not even the same style.
No. Wait, it gets better. So anyway, right before he asked me to go back and check, to go back to his car, he goes, "This is your bike, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's my bike." I'm like, "Oh shit!" I mean, I can prove it. I got a title at home, but I never, Anyway, so all of this so they've got me for. They said I was going 94, lane splitting. I have no driver's license, no registration. They asked me for registration too. I'm like, I don't think I have that either.
They were ready to lock you up,
dude. A guy comes walking back with a. Oh, here's what I think what happened. While we were all talking there, a couple of other bikes go the other way down the highway going the other direction, and I'm like a dog with a squirrel on my bike, so I always look, and they were looking, and sure enough, it's like younger guys on sportier bikes. So I think they were like, okay, this guy's not the guy we're looking for, and I left there with a warning.
I don't know how. I've never gotten a warning. Every time I've ever been pulled over in my life,
I've got it in my bag. I was going to talk about it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So that's
that is a blessing.
The luck of the Dr. Chip, I guess, is with me.
It's not just luck. The main thing is that, all right, so you're on a sport bike in South Florida and you stopped.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you stopped.
Yeah, that part too.
That's so much. Almost everybody runs,
and it's funny.
Almost everybody runs
because Florida's easy to run.
On the warning,
flat, straight.
On the warning, it says type of motorcycle Suzuki. I can't believe. At least my BMW is also black because it's black Suzuki, so it's at least they're both black.
Crazy, they did not catch that and pick up on that. All of that.
I was thinking for sure I was going to have to walk home. I thought I was walking home for sure, but anyway, if you got a better story than that, call us at 904-549-9024 and leave us a Slack Doctor story. But we got to wrap it up and get out of here. We'll have to apologize to whoever left the message. We'll have to get to them next episode, unless you want to just
for sure.
We'll just wait.
And again, we'll put links to the article and to your channel so people can see the full story and see it all.
Thanks,
and know where to go to catch the rest of it. And we'd love to have you back again too. So
yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for doing this. For sure.
Anytime.
All right, brother.
Anytime you guys want to have me on, just have me here. I'll definitely be here. I appreciate you guys. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.